Yeah.
None of
Hey
us
guys,
have changed clothes.
welcome to Cross Examined. I'm your host Malloy, and we have Christina
Hello.
and Matt. It's not an answer, Matt.
She didn't say anything either.
Yes, she
I
did.
said hello.
Oh, did you? Hello.
Matt kind of stole his sign. Anyways, um, so we just got back from our little break and got our food. I got my coffee refill because I operate on a 5 a.m. schedule. Yeah. So, how you guys feeling? You ready? You ready? Spaghetti?
I'm feeling less
Ready
hungry,
about
if that's
the
the answer you're
movie.
looking for.
All right. So we're going to get into a fun topic right now. It's also interesting. So the question, basically, is violence ever justified biblically? Um, and all three of us are martial artists. So this is, yeah. So, but you guys give me your basic answer, yes or no, and a little bit into that, and we'll jump into it more.
I do have to say, Malloy, I'm not a martial artist. I just like fighting people. But I really don't do it well, so it's different.
Yeah, I think violence, is sometimes necessary. I am a black belt in karate. I teach self-defense. And I advocate very strongly that, because there are bad people in the world, and they want to hurt other people. Um, and not even so much. I didn't really start taking karate because I wanted to defend myself. I want to be able to defend other people. I don't want to have to stand there and watch somebody get mugged and not be able to do something. So I think, sometimes you do need to intervene, especially for other people who can't defend themselves. So yeah, sometimes it's necessary.
You're telling me that if someone was getting mugged, you would not just stand in the distance and pray loudly, possibly in tongues?
No, I'm gonna run over there and do something about it.
Sorry, I had to ask
Somebody else.
you like the way you said that. um,
Okay. So, the Bible clearly shows us that violence is never okay. Jesus was not a violent man, and we are called to be like Christ. In fact, the word Christian translates roughly, please, I don't speak Greek, to little Christ or Christ-like. So, obviously, we are called to be as close to Christ-like as we can, and we're going to mess up, but violence is never okay.
yeah, so jumping into that, take what Matt said, add in like the Sermon on the Mount where Christ is like, turn the other cheek, go the second mile. How do we take that and say, like, yes, turn the other cheek, but yes, there are times when violence is okay?
I don't think violence is always the answer. I don't even think that it's most of the time the answer. Especially, I think that verse is especially referring to when someone is personally persecuting you. And yes, Jesus uses the phrase, if someone slaps you on one cheek, then you turn the other one. I'm not completely convinced he was totally talking about physical persecution there, though. I think he just meant in general. If someone's gonna come at me, say mean things to me, persecute me personally, go ahead. I don't have to defend myself. I don't have to fight you in that instance. But I do not think that verse is referring to a situation where you might have to defend somebody else.
So I guess my question then, to understand your position better, do you think it is okay to defend yourself if you're being physically attacked?
Absolutely not.
No, I do. I do, definitely. And I think that to stand aside and let somebody hurt you or let somebody hurt somebody else is only enabling them to sin further. Like, because if you let them hurt you, they're just gonna go do it to somebody else. You guess, I'm not just gonna stand there when somebody hurts me. Which is why I'm very strongly do advocate for other people taking self-defense, because there are ways to defend yourself without, just punching the crap out of somebody. There are ways to control situations. There are, holds that you can do. Even like just defensive blocks and stuff. Honestly, here's my answer. If somebody is trying to beat me up, I'm gonna run away as fast as I possibly can, because I can run really fast when I'm scared, and I'm pretty sure they can't catch me. I'm going to avoid violence if possible.
So the hypothetical I want to give you there is Usain Bolt. What do you do? No, I'm just kidding. In case the viewers haven't been able to tell yet, I'm literally cannot advocate against this with a straight face. So I'm just gonna stop trying. So
do what you got, Matt. Just do what you got. Like, be who you are, theologically.
You don't want that, I promise. Anyway, so my argument that would be, violence is normally or always the sin is, again, we're called to do what Jesus did. Jesus did say, as my lawyer so well pointed out, in the Beatitude, or the Sermon on the Mount, that if somebody hits you on one cheek, give him the other. And if somebody forces you to carry his stuff 1 mile, carry it 2. That verse is important culturally to the people who we're speaking to, in that back then, since the Romans controlled the area, they had this thing, and I don't know what they called the process or the thing where they did this, but the Romans could walk up to a Jew or another non-Roman, effectively, and go, "Hey, here's my crap, carry it up to 1 mile."
Right.
And so Jesus was saying, look, they can legally force you to go 1 mile. You should willingly and cheerfully go a second one just to do above and beyond.
Right.
And so by going above and beyond, okay, well, you've turned the other cheek, now you should move above and beyond that peaceably as well.
Yeah, I don't got anything wrong with that. I think even in instances, I think even today we can do that if someone wants us to do something that we don't necessarily want to do. We should have a Christ-like attitude and help them out as much as we can. It's a part of being a good witness.
So Matt, put you under the questioning now. Scenario. You're walking down the street, and off in the distance you see someone clearly getting mugged. What is your response?
Well, under this philosophy, there's 2 responses. You can ignore it, which Jesus also tells us is wrong. We shouldn't ignore the evils of the world. We should do our best to right them. At me for scripture proof later. Anyway, and but what I would do would be something more akin to what you do is you go up and you say there's this dude laying on the ground and another guy just beating the crap out of him. You stop the aggression. You go, whoa, wait a second, hold up. You're beating up this dude, but that is not what you should do. If there's a problem, it can be solved. You don't have to worry about it, and you can talk them through whatever the issue is, and help them realize that what they're doing is wrong, and lead them towards Christ. And you can preach the gospel to that person as you move along.
And definitely, if talking through an issue, or if anything other than violence is an option and will work, I would say violence, while possibly necessary in some instances, is definitely a last resort. Yeah. Of course, you should try all other avenues before you get physical.
So a deeper question I got now. Let's look at second coming Jesus. First coming Jesus is literally someone basically everybody likes. He miraculously produces food. He lets people beat him up. Like everyone's
the Jews didn't really like him very much.
Yeah.
The Romans didn't like him much either.
Yeah.
Nobody cares about the Romans. They were never important anyway.
Anyways, so we look at second coming Jesus, who not only looks vastly different physically, but he does not take over peacefully. The devil and the devil and friends don't just walk into the lake of fire. They're like, okay, cool. I'm sorry about that, bro. I'll see myself out.
Yeah, they don't go skinny dipping in the lake of fire. It's not how it works.
It's a very, very violent experience, very graphic experience.
Right.
No.
And
Here's a rhetorical first question that go with the second real question. Is the second coming Jesus the same as the first coming Jesus? Like, are they the same person? Second question. If they are the same person, how do we take that as little Christs? How do we find the balance in that? Obviously, we're not going to commit genocide upon all the non-Christians, but where's our balance?
When you look at the Jesus that we have in the New Testament, that has come and that we've seen him interact with humanity, we don't get detailed examples from him for every single situation. No, he wasn't violent. And I think that partially has to do with the mission that he had. Trying to word this without sounding heretical here. I do believe that if Jesus had seen someone getting mugged on the street, he would have done something about it. No, I don't think he would have gone up and started punching the guy. But he also has supernatural powers, you know. He wouldn't have just stood by and let it happen, obviously. He would have made sure that the person was taken care of and that the violence stopped. Second coming Jesus, you sort of see a different side of him. Definitely not different. Or not different. Not a different Jesus. Sort of a different. He has a different mission. Is what I'm saying. First coming Jesus, his mission was to come and die and save humanity. Second coming Jesus, his mission is to usher in the eternal kingdom of God. And a lot of the violence is spiritual warfare there, which is going to be different than physical, because the demons have already made their decision. They've got to go into the lake of fire. I haven't read Revelation in a while, so I have to go back and see if any of that was actually violence against people.
Pretty violent.
Well, like Jesus being directly violent against people is what I'm saying. But a lot, and also a lot of the people Jesus, well, not a lot of, everybody that Jesus was dealing with the first time he came had not made a decision yet. And still had the potential to make a decision to follow Christ or not. When he comes the second time, people have already been given that. The people that he's dealing with directly have either made that decision or have not. And then they have to deal with the consequences of that decision. There's no more in between.
Yeah, fair. So looking at it more, let's look at an Old Testament verse. Jump around Old Testament a good bit. Obviously, New Testament does not cover acts of violence extensively, aside from the fact that we see Christians get persecuted and they tend to just take it,
Right.
So I want to use a proverb, and this is one I've had brought up against me before in a philosophy class in college, which, by the way, I hate the required philosophy courses. I really do. Sorry. Rant. Side rant. Anyways, Proverbs 1. I will start verse 15. I'm going to 16. My son, don't travel that road with them or set foot on the path, because their feet run towards trouble and they hurry to commit murder. Another one would be they hurry to commit violence. That's one I've commonly heard be used, speaking about violence in general, the feet of because it's talking about wicked men, and the wicked men are quick to run towards violence.
Right.
And a lot of people try to take that as, not a lot of people, people I deal with who think violence is a sin, try to say that all violence is that way. It's just a universal principle. Thoughts?
Well, that's not what the verse is saying.
Mhm.
It says basically what that verse is saying, hold on, let me look at it. Their feet run to evil and they hasten to shed blood. They're obviously excited about this. This is something they want to do. And they seek out ways to do it. In a self-defense situation, that's not what you're doing. You don't want to be violent. You've tried alternatives. You're not looking for a fight. It's just a situation you've been thrust into. I don't think that verse has anything to do with self-defense violence.
Mhm. Fair. So looking at another specific Old Testament example, Matthew, feel free to jump in. David. David has this conflict with Saul. Obviously, Saul's a bit of a psychopath who just loves being a psychopath. And David is
Yeah, a bit crazy.
Yeah, David is continually presented with opportunities to kill Saul. And literally, everyone would have been cool. Like most everybody would have just followed him if he'd done it. But
Right.
he keeps asserting that it's not my place to do that.
Right.
So, thoughts? Is this like a statement of pacifism?
Can you repeat that question? You broke up.
He said, "Is that a statement of pacifism?"
David was not a pacifist. Definitely not. No.
He's a murderer, first of all, but
read the story of David and Goliath. God had his hand in that. If God had not had his hand in that, David would not have killed Goliath. That was violent. That was what God wanted him to do. And he did that to protect Israel. If he had not killed Goliath, the Philistines would have made the Israelites their slaves. So that was done in protection of Israel. The Saul situation, by not killing Saul, he was not protecting Israel. Yes, Saul wasn't a great leader, but he wasn't going to enslave the Israelites and kill a bunch of them like the Philistines were. God had ordained Saul. He had not ordained Goliath for anything. So it's a different situation. The violence in the case of Goliath was necessary. The violence in the case of Saul was not. I think they're two completely different situations. I don't think that speaks to pacifism in any way. And David wasn't just a murderer. Yes, he did commit murder. But he was also a warrior, and I think that's different than murder.
All jokes and attempting to argue this aside, I really do have to agree with Christina. There's I won't say countless because I'm sure somebody could go through and count them and prove me wrong, but there's a lot of examples in the Bible that show, hey, this is a problem and nothing else can fix it, so we're going to use violence and it's going to fix it. And it did with the Amalekites and the Ameliorites and all of those people in the Old Testament that nobody really cares about, because they got killed and their babies dashed on rocks. Why? Because they ignored God and continued sinning and continued doing horrible things and raped people and murdered and all this horrible stuff. And God was like, all right, judgment, go. He hit the cray button. And they all kind of went off and killed all these people. Were they in the wrong for doing that? No. Because it was God-ordained judgment.
You can also
Would it be
Elijah, who,
would I be in the wrong if I were to go down to the local high school where people are doing horrible things, having sex, doing drugs, all that kind of stuff, and that is having sex outside of marriage. Let's clarify here. And if I were to go down there and kill all of them, is that acceptable violence? Is that judgment okay? Of course not. Absolutely not. So I think it really does depend on the situation. Why are you laughing at me, Christina? Are you laughing at the school shooter joke? Because it's not a joke.
I'm
not
not
a joke.
But I wasn't laughing.
You are now. No, from on my screen, everything's a little discolored. Like right now, because it's after nightfall, so I've got a filter on. But it looked like you were laughing at me.
So next question, we're gonna jump to Genesis now. This is actually verse my specific professor brought up, and like I said, I really hated that class.
Which one?
Critical thinking. I'm a really straight forward thinker. Like, I think if you jump off a 10-story building, you're gonna die. And he's like, "Are you really gonna die?" No, I was like, "I'm gonna die." So I'm more literal. I was literal, and he was like, "No, let's talk about it." I was like, "No, let's talk about reality." And he's like, "That's not what I do."
That's when you go, well, let's perform this experiment, and you take him and make him the crash test dummy. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. That's murder. That is not acceptable violence.
That's bad violence. No, don't.
Have you learned nothing from Jehu? Because Jehu literally was like that great guy who's like, God was like, overthrow the king. So he's like, cool, I'll go overthrow the king. So he goes to overthrow the king of Judah, and just happens the king of Judah is meeting with the king of Israel. It's like, why not kill 2 for 1? So he kills both kings and goes on his merry way. And then he finds the king of Judah's wife, Jezebel, and Jezebel's like, oh, hey, maybe I can seduce him. And he like throws her out the window, and he's like, yeah, screw that, I don't care about that nonsense.
And runs over her dead body with a wagon, if I remember properly.
Then gets every Baal worshiper, Baal worshiper in the nation together into one place. He's like, I'm totally gonna worship Baal. Yeah, let's do it. Gets them all together in one place, and then just gets rid of all of them. Just kills them all. He's like, never came back after that.
Gotta love that guy.
Oh, Jehu.
Above and beyond for the Lord. But yeah, hey, overthrow, not even kill, just overthrow this one king. I'm gonna kill him, and his wife, and his kids, and all of these unrelated people just because they worship somebody else. And and that king too, even though I'm not really supposed to kill him, but I'm gonna do it anyway because he's in the wrong place.
An overachiever for God.
Definitely all in.
I can't condone this.
Why not? It's a Bible story. Every story in the Bible is of people doing good and right things.
Did I miss a question, or were we just talking about that?
I'm sorry. I just wanted that side note because that's one of my favorite Bible.
Oh, okay.
It's one of the best stories out there, besides Elijah killing the prophets of Baal. How come the best Bible stories are always prophets of Baal dying?
I don't know.
You had was pretty good. No prophets of Baal that died in that one.
They did some pretty.
Which one?
Yeah, we can talk about this some other time. So anyway, it's Genesis verse. It's Genesis chapter 9, verse 6. Whoever sheds man's blood, his blood will be shed by man. For God made man in his image. So we see kind of a statement of principle here that man is made in the image of God. So therefore, those who destroy the image of God are committing sin. Like there's an implication here of this principle. So talk about that. That seems to imply pacifism.
Did you say that implies pacifism?
Yeah, whoever sheds the blood of man, his blood will also be shed by man. For man is made in the image of God.
I mean, I'd argue the same thing about this one that you were saying about David. I mean, this verse clearly speaks against murder. But, I mean, you look at it, and once a man has committed murder, it says, by man his blood shall be shed. So you got to have somebody to enact the judgment. So, I mean, I think basically what this verse is saying is don't murder people.
Don't murder people, or I'll have somebody murder you righteously.
Right, yeah, no. Maybe.
So to try to drag it out a bit more, does it directly state, though, that it's talking about murder? Because to me, it appears to literally just say the one who sheds man's blood, not just typically murder.
You have to say that again, because I completely missed what you just said.
Dang it, Matt.
Sorry, I
sorry.
was reading the passage.
Dang it!
Matt, does it specifically say not to murder? Because translation HCSB just says whoever sheds man's blood. It does not say murder, but whoever sheds man's blood.
Does that verse say murder? No.
That verse doesn't say murder. But I mean,
But the Ten Commandments translate better as do not murder than do not kill.
right, I would agree with that. But
So-
like even looking at that verse, again I say if you have someone who is hurting someone else, shedding blood, then I don't think it's a sin for someone else to step in and stop that shedding of blood and stop that other person. By looking at the second part, by man, his blood shall be shed. Yes, I think initial violence is wrong, but I think violence, if it is the only way to stop further violence, according to that verse, would not be wrong.
Mm-hmm. Fair argument. So I think my next thought then would be to jump back to New Testament, because I'm trying to make this more realistic, especially in a day and age of where radical violence towards Christians is kind of, it's not in the Western world yet, but it's in other places where Christianity is, so it's an issue.
Well, it's in the Western world. It's just not as big of a problem here.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Anyways, so we look at things like Christian martyrdom in the New Testament and Christian history. Would either of you guys argue that a Christian has a right to defend themselves from being persecuted for their faith unto death?
I would say that a Christian has a right to defend others, and would be allowed to defend themselves if, and here's the big thing, if doing so allows them to further protect others. So, if somebody's, say I go to the Middle East somewhere, and I'm alone, it's just me, and I'm preaching, and they're going to kill me for doing it, I don't really have a right to stop it. I just have to preach Jesus until they finish the killing, however they plan on doing it. But if I'm in the same hypothetical, I'm in the Middle East and I'm preaching, and they're going to kill me and wipe out every single one of the people I've been preaching to, all the new converts and all that, do I have a right to protect the converts by committing violence? Yes, I would say I do.
Yeah.
Not because I'm protecting myself, but because I would be, or the missionary in this hypothetical would be protecting other believers, more specifically than protecting themselves. And if they die on the way out, more power to them. Way to be a martyr. Good job, guy. Jesus loves you too.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I have recently helped a church in training their security team. We sort of teaching them how to deal with situations without resorting to violence if necessary, controlling situations, but also using violence if they have to stop. Like, say a shooter comes to the church. It's happened. It's not unheard of in America, and they want to be prepared for that, especially since people come to church who are not saved. And you don't want them to be sitting there hearing the gospel and someone come in and start shooting everybody up. Everybody's like, oh, well, we can't stop them. We have to, turn the other cheek. And they shoot someone not saved. That person's going to hell. I think it's wrong to allow that to happen, to allow somebody to shoot up a whole church. If it's just me personally, like he was saying, no, I'm not going to resort to extreme violence to defend myself. If in a situation of persecution for my faith.
So, I'll use my life as an example. My current pastor is not a pacifist, but pretty close. The pastor I had before that literally carried, he concealed carry at all times, especially when on the pulpit. And in 2014, South Carolina, there was an attempted church shooting that was shut down because the pastor who was concealed carrying pulled a gun and killed a guy who was going to shoot the church. Not a story that got very big. It did for a little bit, but also people were like, who cares? He stopped the killing. Well, great. Let's pray.
There was one similar just several weeks, maybe a month or so ago as well, where it got stopped by a guy who pulled a gun. He actually managed to do so without killing the shooter, though, which the actual person committing a crime there, which was neat.
So, should Christians be packing the potential for deadly force?
I would think that's what situation you're in. Am I?
Yeah.
Best example that I can come up with on the fly is, Dad asked me to go feed the horse. I'm going to feed the horse. I'm by myself. Nobody lives in the house that's out there. That kind of thing. Do I pack? Well, yes, because snakes, but that's a different level. But do I take something that can kill a man? No, probably not. In fact, usually I take nothing. I just don't take anything. Except a pocket knife, which again, snakes. Not that I'd want to stab a snake with a pocket knife, but if I got nothing else, it's the way it's got to work. Stop laughing at me. This is the South. Snakes are a problem here. Australians,
No,
I feel you.
I'm picturing you stabbing a snake with a pocket knife in its mouth.
Well, my pocket knives also tend to have blades like this, so
It's still amusing.
It is amusing. Australians, I feel your pain, man. South Georgia is the Australia of America. Anyway, so, but if I'm going to church, which is a really good example, my last pastor, I don't know about my current one, but the pastor at the church I left just a few weeks ago, always had something on it. But why did he do it? Why would I do it in the same situation? Is because, again, I'm not attempting to protect myself in that situation. I'm trying to protect my family, which I, of course, would assume if I'm the pastor, my family's probably going to be in that church, unless there's something weird going on. And I'm trying to protect my congregation, the sheep that I'm supposed to be the under shepherd for at that point. So it's all about, am I in the situation that someone else may need my protection? Yes. Okay, great. I'm going to carry. Am I in a situation where it's just me, it's only going to be me, and there's going to be nobody else except for a possible somebody coming up to start some crap, or to shoot me or to rob me or whatever? If it's just me in danger, then no. I say not to worry about it too much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, I don't see anything wrong with Christians carrying at all. I mean, when you have...
Definitely not.
I mean, there are people, they're not Christian, and I mean, I don't think it's wrong for us to defend ourselves in a similar way. If they've got that, I don't think we should just, let them have all. It seems like it's a power thing right there. Like, why should we give up that protection when that's what they're using?
Mm.
And that's going to be much more deadly than obviously an empty hand or even a knife. If someone's got a gun, you're more likely to stop them with another gun than with, say, just, I don't know.
The Force.
Whatever you may have at the time. What did you say, the floor?
The Force.
The Force, yeah, you're not going to use the Force because that doesn't work, but...
Right, so trying to think of, like, how the other side thinks of it.
And I'm just going to bring this up because I know we've been talking a lot about, like, in instances of persecution, but that's not the only kind of violence. Like, if there was somebody who came up to me with a gun to shoot me and, like, asked me if I was a Christian or not, I'm going to say yes. But, like, if I'm out on the street, I often carry, I don't carry a gun because I don't have a license, but I do carry a taser. And, myself, that can hurt
Shocking.
people. But, like, there are people out there who, get a little more dark, like rapists and stuff. No, I'm not going to let somebody come up and do anything like that to me. I'm not going to stand by while they abduct me or even just, beat me up for my money. If they want to come and, like, rob from me, ask me, like, here's my wallet. Okay, sure. If that's going to avoid violence, then here, have my wallet. But, in that sort of situation where it's not directly related to religion, I do think it's also a little different.
The real question that I've been asked, when it comes to this idea of, like, believing it's okay to defend yourself, you think that's from a lack of faith? Like, you don't think that God will deliver you, so you have to do it yourself? I've been asked that question. Like, do you just not trust God to defend you?
Wait, the question is, do you just not trust God enough to protect you? Is that the question?
Yeah.
I believe that bad things happen to good people. And I also believe that God raises up people with the ability to defend themselves and others. I think sometimes, yes, God's going to protect you, and sometimes he does that by giving you an opportunity to learn how to defend yourself, or by putting someone in your path who can defend you. He can use people to protect you just as much as he can use, like, a divine lightning bolt or something. God works through people.
Sorry, divine lightning bolt just made me think of Torm smiting people. Anyway, I would have to agree. I think that the way it works is more of a he allows people to make their own choices. Free will and all that crap.
Right.
So as he allows that, people being sinful are gonna at least occasionally make the wrong choice, or they're going to do something dumb, do something bad, do something wrong or sinful. There's no issue with learning to protect yourself. Like Christina said, maybe God's method of protecting you, so at least sometimes, is you protecting yourself. If He's made you with the intelligence and made you with the strength and made you with the be able to learn and do the methods that are able to help you protect yourself and others, then maybe that's God's method of doing it, is He made you to be that method of protection. That was a little rambly, but maybe it made sense.
It did.
And I don't think He's called everybody to that.
No, absolutely not.
Like you said, you were talking about how you had one pastor that was like almost a complete pacifist, and then another pastor that carried. Some people probably He's called to be more of a pacifist because, some people that can be more of a witness to. But other people He's potentially called to be the protectors. God's gifted different people in different ways. We don't all have to be exactly the same. You're talking about being Christ-like. Doesn't mean that we have to do everything exactly like Christ does. It doesn't mean that we have to do everything the same, because we're going to reach different people in different ways. But yeah.
So I think I'm going to jump into the discussion now with my own actual stances, and you guys can, mine are actually different from y'all's. I guess I go to the next level. Not only do I believe we're called to defend others, I also completely believe in self-defense, like, and the way I justify my position. Say some psycho is going to kill me because I'm a Christian. Whatever, like, I look at a handful of things that logically. For one, I think of all the people I have witnessed to, led to Christ, etc., and all the people I will in the future. By letting myself get killed, I'm actually affecting the potential to reach out to more people. I'm saying that this one life here that I'm worried about, although it is super significant, is worth more than all of these potential ones I'm going to outreach. Also, I'll look at the people who I'm important to and the lives it will ruin by me dying, because I do have people who are important to me, who I am important to.
I would be very sad if something happened to you.
Yeah, and I'd be really sad if something happened to you.
You'd have to find a new host.
So.
Yeah, that's totally what gets me.
So for me, in a situation where I don't know what's going on in that person's life spiritually, and I don't know the specifics of my own future, I have to make a logical decision that I know what I'm going to do if I survive this encounter. I'm going to keep witnessing. I'm going to keep bringing the gospel. So I need to prioritize the gospel and surviving.
Right.
So I'm doing that.
And I don't disagree with you. I do agree that we are justified often in defending ourselves. I don't think we should just stand by and let somebody beat us up or try to shoot us. But I do say,
I would agree with that as well.
Say that the way I'm going to defend myself and the way I'm going to defend another person is going to look very different. It's something that my sensei is talking about all the time. If it's just him, he's going to try and control the situation, talk his way out of it, run if he can. I mean, that's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to take off running as fast as I can. Because
Look at it.
I'm a chicken, whatever. I don't care. I don't care what they say about me. I'm just going to run. But if somebody else is there, if there's like a kid there, if there's another woman there, anyone else who can't defend themselves, I'm not running. I'm going to stay, and I'm going to hurt that person so that they cannot cause further harm. Period. They're probably going to hurt me too, but not before I hurt them.
Now, the next stance
I may not win, but you will know I have been there. Yeah.
the next stance I would.
Right. They're not going to hurt anybody else.
I'm also okay with acts of lethal aggression under circumstances. Biblically, I use the example of judges, where we have a specific judge who assassinates a king of another nation to help ensure peace in Israel. Real world examples, we can think of wars and genocides that have gone on where aggression needed to be made, even preemptive aggression possibly, although I'm more sketchy on that one. Because
Well, and Christina and I have actually spoken on this at some point.
Yeah, we talked about just war in
the just war theory. Yeah, I'm not sure what order these videos may or may not get released in, but we spoke about it in our video on where we spoke about the 10 Commandments.
Oh right, yeah.
Is sinning ever allowable? Was the video?
Yeah. It was that one.
And so the idea is, even on a smaller scale, so like me versus an aggressor, or one-on-one, you still have to follow the just war theory, and which I wasn't expecting to use. So give me just a second. It has different parts to it, and you have to follow each part. So the jus ad bellum, or justice in war, the just war theory, are something that we jus in bello, excuse me, it should be distinct. There should be, this is the enemy, this is what they've done wrong. These people are non-combatants and we don't touch them. It should be proportional. Okay, that guy punched me in the face, I'm not going to stab him. Oh, that guy pulled a gun on her, yeah, let me shoot that guy. It should be necessary, so it should be a last, like a last threat, or last, what do you call it?
Resort.
Yeah, it should be a last resort. Thank you. And you should never respond in a way that is completely considered evil. So, some dude goes out, and this is a very harsh example, but some dude goes out and rapes your sister. You're not gonna go rape his sister. That's not the response. It's proportional, but it's not the correct response. It's evil anyway. So you would have to find a different proportional response to do so. Or anything like that. When we're talking about large-scale wars, there's no mass rape. There's no forcing enemy combatants to fight against their own side. There's no nuclear biological weapons should not be used, or along with other weapons that you can't control what their effects are going to be, that kind of thing. So I don't see an issue there, but you have to make sure that it's a just war, that it's a fight, and what you're doing is proportional to what they attempted to do.
Yeah, I think that very much applies to personal self-defense as well.
And current things like the Geneva Convention, the current philosophy for most nations, except in cycles like North Korea and stuff, is you're trying to prevent further aggression. You're not trying to take revenge, though sometimes
you're just trying to make it stop.
Yeah, you're trying to stop. I think one of my favorite books I got right now is called The Heart and the Fist. It's very good. It's about this missionary turned professional boxer, turned Navy SEAL, turned missionary again. He talks about his experiences serving in all these places where straight up genocide was going on, and his growing understanding of the fact that sometimes there needs to be aggression, like there needs to be intervention. And he uses like these different genocides where different pacifist mission groups tried to come in and help, and they did nothing at all to help resolve the situation. They were just kind of like toothless tigers. So he just kind of, his vast experiences from volunteering and being like a pacifist, like so yeah, I think self-defense is justifiable, defending others is justifiable, and sometimes acts of aggression is also justifiable. It's all about case to case.
What was it? I mean, I can see where like in a large scale, like in a situation such as the genocide or whatever, where it would be an act of aggression, preemptive act of aggression would be justifiable. What about like in a personal situation? Do you think that a preemptive act of aggression would ever be justifiable in that instance?
I got a good scenario for that actually. Using this might be considered a sensitive topic for some viewers. I don't know. Either current rules, like for police officers, when it comes to what they're dealing with, their police supposed to take you down if you start getting violent.
I can't hear you.
Hello, can you hear me now?
I can.
Yep.
Yeah, I just got closer. Anyways, so current rules with like our police officers, which some debate are too aggressive. We'll talk about that some other time, maybe. I don't know. But anyway,
That'd be a good topic.
Police officers are allowed to like take down someone. Not necessarily lethal force, although lethal force can be engaged under certain circumstances. The person is getting violent, loud and aggressive, or making like sudden moves, like they suddenly just jump up all of a sudden. Like they're trained to all of a sudden react and take them down. I was actually talking to an officer friend of mine who like they raided someone's home, and the guy was sitting down at the time. They had to take him down because he tried to jump up. They didn't know what he was going to do. Like for all they knew, he was going to like pull a gun on them. So they just responded. They tased him.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
Which we're using cases of police where they don't. In my specific situation, they used a taser, not a gun. So you know.
Right. So more like non-lethal acts of aggression in that case.
I've got no problem, like say, I don't know, say like me and my girlfriend are out, and we're walking down an area we're like walking past really sketchy people who are kind of freaking me out. I'm not gonna like attack them, no, but I'm definitely gonna be wary if like there's a sudden movement. I'm definitely gonna react.
Yeah, that's fair.
Someone I really care about next. I'm really aggressive. Sorry, I'm just violent.
Just a violent person.
Sorry.
You sinner.
I'm sorry.
Look at all these sinners.
Well, everybody's a sinner. So.
Yeah. So those are my thoughts on it. The Heart and the Fist, great book. You should get it.
I'm gonna look it up now. That sounds good.
It is The Heart and the Fist by Eric Greitens.
I don't know how.
Greitens.
Yeah. Also, just Bible books like Nahum. Nahum's a very violent Bible book. Preemptive violence.
1 second. We're gonna do it this way. I think I can do this. No, stop it. Why are you dumb? Why? There we go. Cover looks like this, since we can do it.
Oh yeah, screen sharing. Forgot about that.
Now I'm doing it. I got it. There you go. That's what it looks like, right?
Can't see it.
I don't see it. I still see your face.
Looks
okay.
like.
Oh, I forgot to click share. Works better.
Oh, okay. Right on the face.
That's it?
Yep.
Oh. Education.
Okay. There you go.
Theory in the making of a Navy SEAL.
That looks really cool. I'm gonna have to buy it. It's already in my cart.
Good.
How much is it?
So, yeah, those are my last thoughts on it. You guys get any parting thoughts to share?
Violence is not always a sin. Go beat up someone today. No, I'm just kidding. Don't do that. I don't really have any parting thoughts. I think we pretty well covered it.
I would say one more thing. I do think, if you're going to use violence for any sort of situation, it should always be controlled. another reason why I do strongly recommend even a few self-defense classes for anybody, because uncontrolled violence, even with a good intention, can be disastrous and get out of control, just simply because of the adrenaline of it. And you don't know what you're doing. You can cause more damage than you intend to. So I do think it should always be controlled and thoughtful, and never uncontrolled and just wildly lashing out. I mean, even if you're trying to defend somebody, it can be done in a wrong way.
And I think sometime I'd love to like just go back and forth on our personal philosophies we've been taught, because like what I've always been taught when I actually did start getting trained was to de-escalate the situation at all costs. Like as violent as you have to be to stop the situation, do that.
They are my sensei always talks about controlling the situation. My style is very non-aggressive, not aggressive aggression, if that's a thing. More controlling the situation, flowing with the movement. We do a lot of holds, and moves that don't involve like punching or anything. Moves that are gonna prevent more violence from happening.
That's kind of cool. I would, yeah, we definitely should just chat about that sometime. Anyways,
and it is about diffusing the situation as quickly as possible. But just,
yeah. I like that difference there. It's kind of interesting to think like how different martial arts have different, just general philosophies on how to handle things.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways, yeah. So we covered the topic. Yeah. Have a great night. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah. Good night, guys.
Bye.
Bye.